my name is Dr. Payal Patnaik, Assistant Professor of Management, and today's topic which we will be learning is contemporary controlling techniques. So, in this session we will be learning about types of controlling, methods of managerial control, controlling techniques, that is traditional and modern techniques. So, before we go into today's session, today's topic, let's quickly understand that what is controlling and why it is being performed by the managers in the organization. So, we know that controlling is the last function but a very important function of managerial process. The first 4 functions are planning, organizing, staffing and last is controlling, which is executed after all the 4 functions. So, the organization has to ensure that all the activities which are being planned under the first 4 function of management are being performed as per the plans or not. For that, manager sets some standards and they measure the actual performance with the standards, and then if any deviations are found, then corrective actions are taken. So, these corrective action or remedial actions are taken so that we can achieve the organizational goals on time, efficiently and effectively. So, we know what is controlling, we know why it is performed, because we have to achieve the organizational goals. Now, let us go to that how or what are the methods of doing this managerial control. There are 3 categories in which managerial control are being done, that is constant control methods, periodic control methods and occasional control methods. Let us go through this one by one and understand that what are these control methods are. To start with, the first one is constant control methods. Constant control methods are the control methods which we have to do every single day by every single employee in the organization. So, the first method is self-control. Self-control is expected from each and every employee of the organization. Means employees need to monitor their own activities. Whatever targets, whatever standards are given to them, they have to achieve it on time. If they have self-control which can stop them wasting their time on unnecessary activities, then they can achieve the standards, they can achieve the targets on the given deadlines. The second is clan control. Clan control is devised when a controlling function is taken care by a total group, a whole group, means a group which is consisting of various employees. If the group activity is controlled, means a group objective is given and each and every employee is contributing towards it, then the objective will be achieved. If a single person of that group is not doing the work correctly, then the objective cannot be met. That is why the group's work should be monitored, the group's target should be watched. And the last is standing plans under constant control. Standing plans, benchmarks which are given so that it can control the activities of the employees in the organization. If each and every employee is following the standard plans, that is a policies, discipline, program, then they are for sure going to achieve the targets on time. Now, let us move to the second method of managerial control, that is periodic control. Periodic control happens periodically, means whenever it is required, it is asked or taken care of. The first one is regular meeting. Regularly meeting with your employees and taking the inputs that how they are working, what are the problems they are facing and rectifying the problems on time through conducting regular meetings is one of the methods. Second one is preparing budgets. Giving a proper budget to your teams, your employees and asking them to work within that limit may control how employees are working for that particular task. Budgets are nothing but a numerical targets. Anything which is in numbers and gives you a target through which you can access how much you are doing, how much you are not doing. That becomes a budget. And last one is audit. Internal audit or external audit should be a regular or a periodic practice in the organization, so that you can monitor how the things are working around and where are the problems are going to arise or starting to arise, and rectify it then and there. And the last is occasional controls method. Occasional control method, whenever it is required to have this controlling, only then the occasional control methods can be worked out. The first one is observation. Supervisors or the managers can keep an eye on employees, that how they are working. It should not be done on a regular basis, because then employees might think that the company is not focusing, or the company is not measuring other important tasks, but minute management or the micromanagement is being done, which is not good for organization. But keeping an observation or supervising how they are working can keep the employees on alert and they can work efficiently. The second is exception principle. Exception principle means when employees know that they are deviating from the task a bit, but they can rectify it by themselves without involving manager, then they can do it through their own practices and they should not be involving the manager. Through this, what happens, that manager gets sufficient time focusing on more major or important tasks than getting into minute deviations which can be handled by the employees. And the last one is spatial reports. Asking for specific reports timely, asking for these reports on a regular basis may give manager a chance to find out how different teams or different departments are working. So, these are the methods of managerial control. Now, let us understand what are the different types of controlling we have. We have three types of controlling, that is pre-control, concurrent control and feedback control. We will learn these. The first one is pre-control. Pre-control is also known as feed forward or preventive control. As the name suggests, it is a preventive control. We do this controlling before the actual problem arises. The managers sense if anything is going to be wrong in near future, and before it actually occurs, they try to solve this out. So, this is a control system that helps managers to identify potential problems and find possible solution for such problems. To have this type of preventive control system in organization, the manager has to be visionary, which can see what are the threats which are going to come to the organization. So, it is a preventive control system that will let the managers prevent problems before they actually occur. Pre-control predicts the problem that the organization may face in the future and also tries to identify that how these problems can be solved before they arise. So, it aims that there are no deviation during actually doing the work. For example, we can see that for one production department may have 10 machines and manager knows that one of the machine is old and it may break down any moment because of the depreciation. So, as the manager already knows about that there can be a problem may arise in future, it will be good for the organization part to do the maintenance of that machine or replacing it before the actual work starts, so that the work cannot be hindered in between the objective. Now, the second controlling type, that is concurrent control. In this type of control, the controlling happens alongside with the performance, means the employees or the workers or the managers might be doing the task and simultaneously controlling function can happen. That is why it is known as concurrent control. So, concurrent control means solving and managing problems as and when they happen. So, this control system goes along with the activities. As such, it is also known as side by side or real time control. So, this real time control or concurrent control takes place during the work, and in this system, if a problem occurs during the task, then it is identified and analyzed as soon as possible, and if any corrective measures are needed, then it is taken. So, the main purpose of this real time control is to solve the problem before they become a major issue. If the management or manager sees there is a problem arising slightly in the system, then they need to solve it then and there. So, it is a continuous process. We cannot stop our concurrent control anyway, because it helps the organization to deal with the major issues before they occur. So, it is continuous observation of each and every activity in the organization so that they can be on the standards. So, with this, let us move to the last type of controlling, that is feedback control. Feedback control, as the name suggests, it refers to the control mechanism that solves the problem after they happen. Once the problem is occurred and management has measured that there are huge deviations between what is performed and what was the standard. Now, the task is already over, we cannot go back and rectify anything, but what we can do, we can learn from those mistakes, we can learn from what are the deviations happened, and accordingly we can control it next time. Means when we are planning for the next fiscal year, at that time we can keep in mind what our lacunas happened last time, and accordingly we can take the action for the future. So, in feedback control, we are taking feedback from the past and implementing it in the next planning or near future. So, after the projects or the activities are completed and the analysis is done for it, then observation can take place, and we can identify that why a particular project failed or why we were not able to meet the objective, finding out the reasons of it and correcting it for the next time. So, this is how a feedback control works for the organization. So, there are three types of controlling: pre-control, concrete control and feedback control. Now, let us move to the last part of today, that is controlling techniques. Controlling techniques are of two types. One is traditional technique, another one is modern technique. Traditional technique has different types of technique which can be used for the controlling of activities in the organization. These are personal observation, budgetary control, standard costing, financial ratio analysis, internal audit, break-even analysis and statistical control. So, these are the techniques which are traditional but still in the market or still being used by the organization to deal with specific deviation. And we have modern techniques as well, which are derived recently by the managers to think through and to apply it in the organizational deviations happening. These are return on investment, which is also known as ROIs, ratio analysis, responsibility accounting, management audit and PERT and CPM. Let us go through these traditional techniques and modern techniques one by one and understand how these techniques help the managers dealing with deviation. The first one is traditional technique, and we are discussing about personal observation. Personal observation is nothing but it is a process which enables the manager to collect information as first hand information. Means the manager or the supervisor is going to observe how the work is being done and collect the information through primary data collection method, that is observation. So, it creates a phenomenon of psychological pressure on employees that their performance is being observed by the seniors, by the managers. So, if they are going to do the work efficiently and effectively and achieve the objectives on time, then their work is going to be easy and they will be rewarded. Whereas, if they are not doing the work properly, then they might get punished. So, that is how the personal observation as traditional technique of control works. The next is budgetary control. Budgetary control, as we know that what is budget? It is a numerical target or a numerical term which is used to show the expected result. So, when we show a result in numbers, it is a budget. So, budgeting simply means showcasing our plans or expected result using numerical information. What is the main aim of budgetary control? It is to regulate the activity of an organization using budgeting, means setting up a numerical standard for a work so that we can measure how much we have reached, how far we have reached. So, the process firstly requires the manager to determine what objective they wish to achieve from a particular activity and then lay down the exact course of action, which can be in numbers, which is like in a particular week how much task has to be done, in particular month how much task has to be done. Then next they have to translate these expected results into monetary and numerical terms, like for example, it can be in sales number, it can be in rupees, it can be in units. So, once this is done, it should be communicated to the employees and then the managers are going to compare the actual performance with this numerical targets, which is budget, and if not meeting, then taking corrective action. So, this is how a process of budgetary control system works. Now, let us move to the next one, that is standard costing. Standard costing is similar to budgeting, but it relies on numerical figures which are standard in nature. The difference between two is that standard costing relies on standards and regular recurring cost. Under this technique, managers record their cost and expenses for every activity and compare them with the standard cost. So, in standard costing, a standard is defined, whereas in budgetary control, we are making budget which keeps on changing based on how much time, how much resources we have in hand, whereas standards comes with taking statistical tool and taking averages from the past performances, and based on that the costing is done. So, this controlling technique basically helps in realizing which activity is profitable and which is not profitable. So, which one are not profitable can be eliminated. The next is financial ratio analysis. Every business organization has to depict its financial performance using some reports like balance sheet, profit and loss, cash flow. So, these financial ratio actually analyze compares the financial report of the previous year and then measure whether we are going up or going down. So, it study the financial performance of businesses by comparing the results of last year, result of this year, and what is expected in the future years. So, comparative studies are taken place by management to study the changes in assets, the changes in liabilities, capital, profits, etc. So, financial ratio analysis helps the management understand the liquidity and solvency position of the businesses. The next type of technique is internal audit. It is very popular technique of controlling which shows that internal auditors are assigned and they regularly check that how particular departments or how particular tasks are being done in the organization by the employees. So, for example, it can cover policies, it can cover procedures, methods, and how management of the organization is working. The result of audits can be can help the managers in taking corrective actions. An internal audit also helps the organization to identify any concurrent controlling if it's required. Means it helps us rectify the problems before it becomes a major issue. The next one is break-even analysis. What is break-even? Break-even is a point where there is no profit, there is no loss. Means we are getting the amount which we have invested in doing a particular task. So, it is a point at which businesses don't make any profit, neither they get any loss. So, this can be in form of sale output, production volume or price of the product. So, manager mainly use this break-even analysis to find out what is the minimum level of result they desire to achieve from an activity. Any number that goes beyond that break-even point shows that we are on a positive path to achieve our objective. If we are not hitting the break-even point, that means we are not going to achieve the target that particular period. So, to calculate break-even point, there is a small formula, that is fixed cost divided by selling price per unit and minus variable cost per unit. If we do so, we can find out what is our break-even point. Then we have statistical control. Statistical control is done by preparing statistical reports. So, these statistical reports in form of graphs, charts and table helps the management see and analyze the data in very easy and effective manner. So, it gives a overall analysis of report and data which is used in form of averages through mean median mode. It can give us percentages, ratios and correlation, etc. So, the present useful information to the managers regarding the performance of organization can be shown through these methods. So, this type of information is useful in making the wise decisions for the organization by the management, and it also provides as a benchmark. It also gives us a standard for the organization. Now, let us move to the modern techniques. Modern techniques, the first technique is return on investment, which is also known as ROI. It can be defined as one of the important and useful technique because it provides the basic guideline for measuring whether or not we should invest our capital in some kind of investment and how much returns we are going to get out of it. So, if we are investing, whether or not this invested capital can be used effectively for generating a reasonable amount of return or not, that can be measured. So, ROI or return on investment can be used to measure the overall performance of an organization or of its individual departments or divisions, because in business we have been investing money in various activities or projects. Finding out whether we will be able to get sufficient returns out of it is very crucial. So, first calculating whether the particular investment will be fruitful for us or not can be seen through return on investment. Next is ratio analysis. Most commonly used ratios by the organizations are liquidity ratio, solvency ratio, profitability ratio and turnover ratio. If these ratios are studied timely and efficiently, then it shows that how we are performing, whether we are performing better than the last year or our performance has gone down and how we can improve it. So, ratio analysis is very crucial for our one of the technique of controlling. The next is responsibility accounting. Responsibility accounting is a very recent controlling technique which makes a particular division, a particular department responsible of the targets given to them. Achieving those targets on time is the responsibility of that particular division. So, it is a system of accounting in which overall involvement of different section, division or departments of an organization are set up as responsibility centers. different responsibility centers are defined in this type of system. The head of the center is responsible for achieving the target for his center. If they are not achieving, then they have to provide the reason of the problem. So, there are different type of responsibility centers are there, like cost center, they have responsibility of minimizing cost. Then there is revenue center, who has responsibility of increasing the revenue for the organization. Then profit center, again they have to increase the profits for the organization. And investment center to find out the appropriate ROI so that they can invest in particular project. Then we have management audit. Management audit refers to a systematic appraisal of overall performance of management. We have controlled each and every activity and person in the organization, but what if our management is only not good for organization? That is why management audit is a new but very efficient technique of controlling. The purpose of this review is to find out the efficiency and effectiveness of management and to improve if it's needed. So, management audit judges the overall performance of the management of an organization, and it is aimed to review the efficiency and effectiveness of management and improve its future performance. And the last one is PERT and CPM. PERT stands for Programmed Evaluation and Review Technique, and CPM is Critical Path Method. Both of these techniques help in performing various functions of management, like they schedule, they plan and they implement time bound projects, which involves performance of a variety of complex, diverse and interrelated activities. That is why these techniques are so interrelated and they deal with such factors as time scheduling and resource allocation for the activities. So, with this we came to an end for this session. Let us quickly recap that what we have studied in today's session. We understood that what is controlling and why it is needed. What is controlling and why it is needed. Then we studied about that what are the various methods of managerial control. Those are constant control, periodic control and occasional control, and under these there are few methods which can be followed to control the organizational activities. Then we studied about pre-control, that is also known as feed forward or preventive control, concurrent control, that is known as controlling while doing the task, and feedback control is type of control which we do once the task is over. Then we studied about controlling techniques. There are two types of techniques, traditional and modern. In traditional technique we studied about personal observation, budgetary control, standard costing, financial ratio analysis, internal audit, break-even analysis and statistical control. Whereas in modern techniques we studied about return on investment, that is ROI, ratio analysis, responsibility accounting, management accounting, management audit and PERT and CPM. With this we came to an end of the session for now. Thank you.